up in the sky. Look, it's captivating. It's energizing. It's Eliances Heroes. Eliances is the destination for entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, inventors, leaders, celebrities, and startups, where our heroes in business align. Now, here's your host flying in, David Kogan, founder of Eliances.
Oh, that's right. Another incredible day with the heroes. Thank you, too, for the feedback we still get from the UPS CEO that we had on. So many things going on with him. It's just truly incredible. Now, we have with us in the studio the co-founders of Red Crow Crowdfunding, Jerry Harrison and Brian Smith. Now, Jerry and Brian, your website, redcrow.com, says that you're a Morgan Stanley, Brian, you're a Morgan Stanley dropout. And Jerry, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, inducted from the band Talking Head. Tell me, though, how you both even met and then how Red Crow got started.
Sure. I'm happy to talk about how Jerry and I met. We have a mutual friend, a musician from the band Live. Live was a big hit in the, I guess you could call it the alternative scene in the 90s. And Jerry had produced them. And Chad and I had met over the years, me growing up really, my late teens, early 20s, listening to that kind of music. I knew more about the music Jerry had produced than the bands Jerry was in. I think Burning Down the House was probably the one I was most familiar with growing up with MTV.
Sure.
So I had moved from Boston to the West Coast, and Chad had said, when you get to the West Coast, you got to spend some time with Jerry. You're not going to talk about music. You're going to talk about business. I had a feeling you guys would hit it off. And,
Right.
And so, Jerry, maybe you want to talk a little bit about that relationship that you have. And
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, you're going from, Talking Heads, you did a lot of other things and stuff, and then what was the interest, first of all, of even getting involved with Red Crow?
Well, it sort of grew over time. Brian was actually involved with helping a company that Chad Taylor and other members of Live had founded, which is building a fiber link between New York and Washington, D.C., and he was raising money for that. And I invested in this company. I'm a supporter of the people I work with. So we started having discussions about the company and some of the struggles it was going through. And Brian, in that research of finding funding sources for them, said, I found this new thing called crowdfunding, and I think it's going to be a really big thing. And so I said, well, I started throwing out ideas about it. And as I got more and more ideas seemed to resonate with Brian, and as he started to kind of put together what he thought the company should be, you might say we started to incorporate some of those ideas. And I'm going like, well, I'm getting more and more invested.
Right.
And so it's like, well, I'm kind of excited about this. I'm going to go a little further than just giving you advice. And so it kind of grew into being partners.
Excellent. Now, Brian, not every, people hear the term crowdfunding, but not everybody knows what it is. I mean, it has a lot of, people don't know the specifics of it. Talk to us about it and talk to us why now it's become so popular.
Yeah, that's a great point. Crowdfunding, when we do have the conversations, what we hear a lot about is the donation-based platforms, so Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
So that's where you're donating, you're not getting any piece of it. You get maybe a T-shirt, a keychain, and a feel good.
Exactly, and the promise of a potential product, to come your way. And so watching that, see billions of dollars coming through those platforms, I just remember thinking, if you could ever have a platform like this where companies are raising money at an early stage and those that are putting money in are actually getting equity in those companies, that's a game changer. And so after I left Morgan Stanley, I was working with, before the fiber company, really this all started with a doctor out of Boston brought an idea to me that came from a hospital, Tufts Medical in Boston. And it was a new fetal monitor device. And I was very passionate about it. My story is that in 2003, I lost a child at 24 weeks. She was born 1 pound, 4 ounces, lived for a couple hours, and very tragic thing to go through. And I decided my way of dealing with it was to get involved, help labor and delivery become safer, join the March of Dimes. And as a result, I had doctors as clients at Morgan. And so this one doctor said, there's this device. They can't have, they're having a hard time attracting VC money. Maybe your clients would want to invest. And I knew my clients would want to invest, but Morgan Stanley made it clear at the time, if we don't represent an investment, we can't have our advisors running all over town pitching deals.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
and you get that, right? So
right.
I made a personal decision to leave Morgan and get involved with this company, help them raise the money they needed. But what it showed me was there was this whole network and crowd of investors that wanted access to things early. And so understanding that crowdfunding allows a company to put their offering, their investment on a platform that really the entire universe can invest in today because of the Jobs Act. Red Crow is focusing on the accredited investor world and eventually will move to non-accredited. But what we're learning is there's a lot of accredited investors that have never had early access. You know, people like Jerry, when you're in the limelight, you know, you get to run into the guys from Facebook, and, you know, that doesn't happen to everybody. And
Sure.
I think, you know, we want to give those opportunities to the everyday investor.
Absolutely amazing. And you're listening to David Kogan with the Eliances Hero Show on Money Radio. Thank you so much again, Eliances.com, the place where entrepreneurs align. And we've got the co-founders of Red Crow Crowdfunding at redcrow.com, Jerry Harrison and Brian Smith. Now, both of you have been to an Eliances experience. In fact, you both were at the grand table. Jerry Harrison, why don't you go ahead, tell us a little bit about what it was like to be at the Eliances grand table.
I think the most difficult thing was to be able to say what I wanted to say in 1 minute. They were waving the flags a lot at me. So, and I started to go, well, should I have just gone through the 3 Gs? Because I could have done that a little bit more. But that wouldn't have necessarily let me tell something about what made Red Crow unique. So trying to be brief, that was a challenge. But it was a great experience. There were so many wonderful people I met there. And I understand the brief format, but you know, I kept going in my mind, do I prefer TED or do I like this better? So.
And Brian and you and stuff, I mean, you had both of you had a lot of people flock to you afterwards. I mean, hundreds of entrepreneurs there, people from all over. What was it like for you?
Yeah, you know, I have to say, David, I think being an entrepreneur, your time is valuable, and to be able to come to an event and for it to be, you know, quick, I really appreciated that. The fact that you could hear somebody's elevator pitch, you know, in a minute and then want to follow up, that was very, for me, you know, that format as opposed to sitting through a half-hour presentation, you know, all day. I love the pace of it. I love the enthusiasm. And I said to Jerry, you know, it's really great when we get to visit a new community, get outside of San Francisco, get outside of Boston, because between all the people we met yesterday, all of your unique members, it really motivated me to keep going. You know, we're a startup ourselves, so
Yep.
there's that grind, and it's twofold for me when we do these events, though, because I have those that are interested in talking about Red Crow and talking about their companies, and then I also get brought back down to earth and realize I'm also in business with a celebrity.
Sure.
When they come up and talk about their kids are listening to his music. And you know, one thing I've always said, and this goes back to something Chad Taylor said at one point, was with music, whether it was the band Live or Talking Heads, it was about bringing people together. And that's what crowdfunding is doing. We're bringing people together, but in a different way. I mean,
Absolutely.
in fact, Jerry, you have a great line.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to we've got to take a commercial break,
Right.
and when we return, we're going to be returning again with Jerry Harrison and Brian Smith, co-founders of RedCrow.com. This is David Kogan with the Eliances, and thank you again to our producer, Glue with LoopyDocs.com.